Shocking revelation about the FBI's internal operations. Recently uncovered documents, handed over by an FBI whistleblower, suggest that the Bureau has been conducting a political litmus test to determine the loyalty of its employees. This so-called Trump questionnaire raises serious concerns about political bias and the use of personal political views as a security concern. These documents, obtained by investigative journalist John Solomon, point to a disturbing trend. Support for President Donald Trump was enough to raise security flags within the FBI.
1 year ago, I testified alongside 3 of those other whistleblowers, Steve Friend, Marcus Allen, Garrett O'Boyle, in front of the Weaponization Committee. And at the time, the FBI had just released information that they had all had their security clearances suspended, a couple of them revoked. And now, a year later, we've been able to pull back the curtain and see the FBI's documentation for why it did what it did with their clearances. And that's the context in which we've seen this sort of questioning going on, asking people if they ever supported President Trump.
It wasn't just about those who publicly supported Trump. The FBI's Security Clearance Division went as far as questioning employees about whether they had ever socialized with individuals who supported the former president.
Their fellow employees, so people who were compelled to answer, who had to either answer these questions from the security division or have their own security clearance called into question. And they were asked, did you ever socialize with these individuals? What was your association with them? And then asked these extremely intrusive questions.
This unprecedented level of scrutiny raises concerns about what the FBI's true priorities were during this period. The whistleblowers have revealed that these questions were deeply intrusive, far beyond what's typically expected in security clearance investigations.
Within the FBI that was done by SIIS, Dina Perkins, Jeffrey Ventry were behind it.
There were a number of FBI whistleblowers, several of whom we have represented, people like Steve Friend, Marcus Allen, Garrett O'Boyle, who were objecting in various ways to how the FBI was approaching its investigations of those. But this particular individual had his security clearance suspended, and that's when all of this hit.
But this may only be the beginning. According to the whistleblowers, there are allegations that this was part of a larger purge of FBI employees who held conservative views. Many believe that what we've seen so far is just the tip of the iceberg.
Certainly there have been allegations out there that once people got swept into that security funnel, that there was a purge of FBI employees that had conservative views. And now in black and white, we've uncovered those documents because of our client's security appeal, where we've been able to see the basis on which his colleagues were questioned, and this is extremely problematic.
As the FBI faces mounting questions about this Trump questionnaire, they've responded by claiming the form wasn't officially sanctioned. According to the FBI, the document was created by an outside contractor and used in isolated incidents.
That it's not an FBI form, that its use was isolated, that it was created not by an FBI employee, but by an outside contractor, and that individual is no longer affiliated with the FBI.
The response, however, doesn't sit well with critics. Whistleblowers argue that this questionnaire and the political vetting that came with it wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a broader pattern of behavior within the FBI aimed at suppressing political dissent.
We keep hearing about these isolated examples, whether it's Richmond Catholics, this instance. When is it? Isn't it a pattern?
The consequence targeted by this internal purge had been devastating. Once an FBI employee's security clearance is revoked, their career in federal service is essentially over. They become marked as disloyal to the United States, which disqualifies them from seeking other government employment.
If you have your security clearance revoked, you're not in a position to go to another agency.
Exactly.
Right? You can't say, I want to go to Immigration and Customs Enforcement because I think that they need some help over there. No, you have been deemed disloyal to the United States.
This raises the question, how widespread were these practices? Was this truly isolated? Or was it part of a systematic effort to root out employees based on their political belief?
These documents are going to be the tipping point, frankly. I think that the Inspector General, we expect that an investigation by the Inspector General will open up. We expect that Congress is going to be doing oversight of that. And along with some of these other instances of vindication.
As Congress gears up to investigate these claims, many are calling for an overhaul of the FBI's internal practices. If these whistleblowers are right, this marks a significant breach of trust in one of America's most powerful law enforcement agencies.
Personal political views, or again, even feelings about one's own bodily autonomy, all of that was hidden in these documents. And now that we've ripped the mask off the FBI, again, we are certainly going to push the Inspector General to see whether this happened in other cases. And we strongly expect that they will find that it did.
The FBI's reputation has already been under fire in recent years, and these revelations are sure to add fuel to the fire. With Congress and the Inspector General now involved, there are growing calls for sweeping changes at the FBI and possibly even a restructuring of the entire agency.
More than anything else, these documents demonstrate in black and white what individuals like Chairman Jim Jordan have been alleging for 2 years. And now we have the definitive proof of that.
The road ahead will be long, but the whistleblowers hope that this will be the tipping point for change at the FBI. In their view, this is not just about holding individuals accountable, but about reforming the institution as a whole.
I think this summer we're going to see exposed quite a bit how the FBI has shown such political bias in what they do.
As these investigations unfold, one thing is clear: the FBI's secretive practices are now out in the open. The question remains, will the system finally be reformed? Or will this just be another chapter in the ongoing saga of political bias within federal law enforcement?